Um, this is a bit of an impromptu episode of Effort Over Results podcast. I'll be doing this solo today. Um, for those of you who know me, I've had to take a leave from work, personal leave, and I'm not ashamed to admit it that it was for mental health reasons. I think the reason why I'm doing this podcast today is because I wanted to speak about that in particular, but also what it means in the bigger picture for mental health awareness, for men's mental health awareness, um, and specifically to those people out there, those business owners that can't take mental health breaks. They are the front lines. They are the owners of all of our businesses that we know, right from $100,000 bakeries all the way up to $100 million industrial construction companies. And the first thing I wanted to touch upon is I want to go back to the reason why I started this podcast, espousing the philosophy of process over outcome, or effort over results, as I like to call it. Effort is everything. As I mentioned in my first podcast with Adrian Van Gool, I started the podcast out by reciting a Bible verse that says there is profit in all labor. And I truly believe that. I think that regardless of the effort, the exertion, the work that we put into something, whether it is seen as being positive or negative, everything that we do from an effort perspective helps us grow. Everything that we do from an effort perspective builds resilience. And so when I started effort over results and started preaching the concept of that, largely based on the growth mindset philosophy from Dr. Carol Dweck of the 80s, 1980s and 90s, and the book that she wrote on growth mindset, we need to understand that everything we do each day, making your bed, keeping your home clean, taking your dogs for a walk, raising your children, anything that requires work, labor, exertion, a certain amount of sweat equity, as we would call it, is good. Going to the gym, exercising your mind, exercising your body, it is all good. And so going back to the start of this podcast and this video, I'd admitted to having to take a mental break from work. I had to do it because after 15 years of working hard in the same job, I had failed to take care of myself. I had failed to take care of my mind and understanding the limiting beliefs that I have about myself. I failed to understand that while work is important, and what we do on a day-to-day basis is important, and I believe that my job and the work that I do is important. Advising companies and working with business owners and coaching businesses is extremely important. I love what I do. But I stopped thinking about myself and what it was doing to me. The thing that really stands out for me is that I started focusing too much on the results. I started focusing too much on hitting budget. I started focusing too much on the number of mandates that I was able to close. I started focusing far too much on the sales aspect of the job because it was required. My job is not without its targets. It's not without its budgets that need to be met. I like having those. I like I like understanding what I'm being measured against. But 3, 4 years ago, I decided that my mantra in what my job was going to be help, not sell. And that is to help people, to constantly find ways to help people, to be a resource to them, to connect them with others, to be a conduit within the business community, to help others network with each other and help them be successful, and not sell them on the products and services that the company and the organization that I work for have available to our clients. I started feeling that selling feeling coming back in, creeping its way back in, and the pressure of hitting targets and the pressure of meeting budgets. And I lost sight of myself as a person. It affected my home life, affected my relationship with my wife. It affected the relationship I have with my children. I was starting to put on them the pressures that I was feeling at work. And ultimately, it all came crashing down this year. Most specifically, it started in the spring and continued to get worse until a few weeks ago when I decided that I just needed to take a break. Now, there's a handful of you out there that might suggest that I don't have resilience, that I lack mental toughness. Everybody will have their opinion. Everyone will have their perspective of what I'm saying and the situation that I'm narrating and that I'm creating for you and letting you know about. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with understanding that we can't be robots in the work that we do. And I think Gen Z is teaching us Gen Xers a little bit of that value system that they so desire within the workplaces that they are employed at. And what I'm learning as a Gen Xer at 53 years old from that younger generation is that taking care of yourself is extremely important. There's a couple of books, I'm sure there's several books, but there's a couple of books that I refer to. One is a book called Your Oxygen Mask First. It speaks to taking care of oneself as a leader in a company, or as the leader of a family, or as the coach of a team, or as a parent. Taking care of yourself so that you can be fully there and to care for others, the people you are leading, the people that are looking to you for your guidance. Another one is the book that Adrienne Van Gool wrote, and we talked about it on our first episode with her, From Self-Care to We Care. And essentially it is the same message, although more cerebral and ethereal, in that we need to fully take care of our minds and our bodies and our spirits, and internally and externally, to be able to truly be there for others. I know people will say it's hard to love others when you don't love yourself. And the same goes within the work world, and as a business owner and as a leader, manager, anywhere where you're having to guide people. Even in my position where I'm not necessarily guiding people, but I'm still being looked to for advice and for guidance, that I need to be at my best. We all need to be at our best to truly bring our best to others. There are no results in that. That is just daily discipline. It's just daily motivations. It's just daily atomic habits, as James Clear would put it, that continue to grow our confidence, that continue to grow us internally and externally, that continue to reinforce in our minds and make our minds almost bulletproof to what is going on around us, being able to ignore a lot of the noise, not sweating the small stuff. I have a friend that uses that a lot, and really just doing what is best for us so that we can be at our best for others. And so when I started the podcast today, I wanted to talk about my personal leave from work. I wanted to, I don't know if the term is admit, but I do want to say that I was ashamed to have to make that phone call to my leader and also to my doctor. At first, I had a lot of mixed thoughts about it. I felt like I was giving up. I felt like I was quitting. I didn't know what message it would send to my children, to the clients that I love and that I work with every day, to my coworkers. And so a few days ago, after my personal leave was granted, and I want to thank my employers for supporting that, and my doctor too. I posted to LinkedIn, and some of you may have seen it, on this exact event in my life, having to take a break from work to as my son would say, I'd get my shit straight. Apologize for the language, but I needed to pull away and pull back to truly understand what it is that I wanted moving forward, to truly understand what I needed to do for myself, from many different perspectives in my life, to be able to go back to work, to be able to care for others again. I needed to care for myself first. And so while that shame was onset early, posting that to my LinkedIn profile and admitting that I had to take that leave from work, and that and I'll say it as the 53-year-old male, who has predominantly been an alpha type my entire life, having played professional football, being involved in competitive sports my entire life. It's quite the departure from what I thought people expected of me. But what I learned in the comments after I posted this to LinkedIn the other day, and from the outpouring of support, is that this may have had more impact on people, my being vulnerable, not being ashamed to admit this to the world, to my followers on LinkedIn. Hopefully more saw it, because I think it's important for all walks of life, all ages and demographics. And I think it's important for men to admit their vulnerabilities. I think people appreciate that. I think I grew up in a generation in the 70s and 80s where men didn't do that. In my parents' generation certainly didn't do that. Men didn't cry. Men didn't show weakness. It just didn't happen. And so I spent, the better part of my childhood and first 20, 25 years of my life, and that would be from 1971 through to the late 90s, not showing that soft side, not showing that vulnerability. And what I've learned, especially here in the last decade, and I will give the internet, and I will give Gen Z, millennials, maybe credit for this, is that they are teaching their parents how to show emotion. They're teaching their parents how to show vulnerability. And us as fathers and husbands and dads, and the men of the world, that showing this is okay. I preach that we shouldn't really seek the approval of anyone in our lives. That's another lesson I've had to learn. Because really it is only your own approval that you should seek. But I do want my wife and children to be proud of me. They are the most important people in my life. They are the ones that I want to know that I am here to take care of them, um, and that I want to be strong for them. And so this is where I am today. This effort over results concept that I started a few years ago has now grown to a point where it is part of the fabric of my life. It is something that I preach daily. It is something that has positively affected my children in their endeavors and really what they want to do in life. It is something that I believe has affected my wife positively. Having her understand that it is not about achieving the end goal. It is not about greatness. It is not about the ultimate result. It really is just about being proud of yourself for waking up each day and doing what you need to do to be a little bit better. If that's taking care of your household, that's great. If that's going to the gym, to whatever fitness endeavor that you pursue, that's awesome. As long as you can look yourself in the mirror, that you next year can be proud of what you did last year, that your 80-year-old self would be proud of you now, that your 8-year-old self would be proud of you now. I think it's important that people just understand that it's just about effort. It's just about putting in I refrain to use the term good day's work because that sounds very 1974. Um, but a good day's work on ourselves. It's when we lose sight of taking care of ourselves where things fall apart and where we can't take care of others, especially as parents, as coaches, as educators, as leaders in the business industry. It is so damn important for us to take care of ourselves. And that requires effort. It doesn't require a result. It just requires understanding what fulfills you, what makes you whole, what quiets your mind, what allows you to operate daily within whichever arena that you're in, business, sports, education, family, to be there, to be present in the moment, and to just be at your best for those around you, but first and foremost for yourself. I really hope that this message wasn't too convoluted today. It's something that I've been thinking about for a few days, and I really wanted to get it out there. We will be doing some podcasts coming up. I have one coming up here in the next few weeks on men's mental health and just mental health and suicide. It's gonna be pretty intense, pretty deep. I'm looking forward to it, though. I'm looking forward to speaking to Darren Anderson of Love My Mind, a foundation and organization that was started shortly after his brother took his own life. And we'll be talking to him about that. And I think it's important for people to have those conversations. I think it's important for people to know that there are others out there feeling like they do. I know I've felt that feeling. I think a lot of us have. And so I look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you for listening. Please please subscribe, let your friends know about this podcast. I want it to be something that people can use to make themselves better. I truly do. This isn't just about the business world. This is about us as a society, as humans, and to be there for each other and to stop the conflict, because conflict happens when we have conflict in our own minds and when we're in conflict with ourselves. And so take care of each other out there. We'll see you in a few weeks. And thanks for listening today. This has been the Effort Over Results podcast. I'm Quinn Magnuson, your host, and we look forward to the next episode. Have a great day.